Hello everybody, Donnie here. Welcome. Here we share true stories from real people. I hope everybody's doing well today, so we're going to start out with the first story. It reads, Update. Am I the a-hole for not inviting my parents to my wedding and anyone from that family? Original story. Me, 27, and my husband, 28, are going to get married in January. On his side, her entire family is invited. But on mine, only my maternal aunt and her husband are going. When my parents and the rest of my family found out about this, they made a big fuss and they treated me horribly. But I'm justified in not wanting them on my special day. Context. I was the first daughter, granddaughter, and niece. I was everyone's darling until the other babies arrived. And when I turned 8, my little sister was born. My grandparents and my mother stopped treating me in a special way. If my sister broke anything, whatever, they never scolded her, but if I said something mean to my sister, I was punished. Once she even broke my glasses, and I was punished. My father, on the other hand, was present for a while, but then disappeared. He was constant with the money, but not with the visits or calls. When I turned 11, I was closer to my maternal aunt, who lived miles away from me, than to my uncle's grandparents and mother, who lived in my house. That aunt, who is 9 years older than me, she is my mother's half-sister, and although she only saw her on Christmas, birthdays, and holidays, we talked on the phone twice a day. When I was 12 and she was 21, I stayed with her all summer. Even though my mom didn't believe my aunt could take care of me, they were the best 2 months of my life. After my vacation, I studied more and had very good behavior at school with the intention that they would let me to go see her again. But everything was ruined when my grades in mathematics began to go down. Although I tried hard and my aunt gave me classes and even she paid a tutor, my grades didn't improve. That year, my aunt visited me in the middle of the school year and went to see what was happening at school with my mother. That was when my teacher said that I was not paying attention in class because I was very loving with a girl. My mother and aunt were amazed and asked why he would say something like that. The teacher argued that I was a lesbian and that my classmate was my girlfriend. And as an institution, I could not accept that. It was a religious school. My aunt made a fuss and threatened to sue them for discrimination, but my mother believed the teacher. When they got home, she hit me and exposed me in front of her entire family. I was not a lesbian and that girlfriend was just a friend. My aunt got in the way and confronted my mother that it was then that my mother kicked me out of the house and told my aunt if she defended me so much, I should move in with her because I was ashamed of my mother and that I was not going to go through that with the neighbors. My aunt didn't even think twice and took me with her. She called my father and told him about her situation. They both filed a complaint and made it clear that I would be staying with her. My grandmother, who lived with my aunt, also disowned me for supposedly being a lesbian, but my aunt, who owned the house, kicked her out of the house. From that day on, my aunt and her husband, who at the time was just her boyfriend, took care of me like I was their daughter. When I turned 15, my uncles legally adopted me. They paid for my university, and also during all that time, they made me go to the psychologist. I must say that all this affected me too much, but the love they gave me helped me a lot. For me, they're my parents and not my aunt and uncle. Now, when my relatives found out that I was going to marry a man, they came to apologize to me and I accepted his apology. Even so, I did not want to continue in contact with them. But they believed that with the apology, they were more than invited to my wedding. And 2 weeks ago, my mother and my grandmother came to my dress fitting. I was totally outraged. They had not been invited and I kicked them out of my place. They were outraged and they started insulting me and my husband. I told them that I didn't want them in my life, that I only excused them for mental health reasons, but they were nothing of mine anymore. Despite all that, 3 days ago, one of my dad's cousins called me asking about the dress code and if she accepted children. I told her that she, like all members of that family, were not invited. She was outraged, and a few minutes later, he called me, my father, asking who he was going to turn me in for. I answered that my father, my uncle, would do it, and he called me in 1,000 ways. I simply cut off the call. Now, am I really that bad? My mom tells me that if I don't want those people at my wedding, she supports me, but my mother-in-law says that Family is family no matter what has happened. Now for the comments before reading the update. This person says, "You are doing the right thing. These people are trash. Sure, they apologize to you, but they still feel it was appropriate to disown you and treat you like shit because they're homophobic monsters. If you were gay, they would be treating you that way. They are bad people and they do not deserve your pity, much less your concern. Let them die mad. Have your aunt send out a blast text to the whole family telling them they are not invited, and that there will be security at the venue to prevent anyone from an invite from getting in. They don't get to pretend they view you as family when they have spent years making sure you knew exactly how little they thought of you. Tell your future mother-in-law that her family is not your family no matter what is an insane thing to say about people who abused you. Make sure she understands that this is a hill you will die on, and that your abusers, make sure that you use that word, are not going to be allowed to force their way into your life no matter who they share genes with. If future mother-in-law hasn't experienced abuse, she has no business speaking to your situation." This person says, "Not the a-hole. They are bad people. They despise you when you needed them the most, while your aunt, who was only 20 years old, was more mature than all those homophobic adults. Take care and don't let anyone into that marriage. From what I read, your father, although I don't despise you, he wasn't able to take care of you either, so he is also just as despicable." OP isn't stating too much about her father, so we don't know why he wasn't physically and emotionally available. However, he did provide financially. He did file a complaint about OP's mother kicking her out of the house, and did what was needed in order to let her stay safe with the aunt. OP didn't disclose him having issues with Uncle Dad walking her either. We literally don't know why he isn't a parental figure towards OP. At least he doesn't seem to want any harm to her, on the contrary. The family is probably more toxic than the post could expose. OP says, "I didn't talk much about Dad because I didn't see him much, but he could have taken care of me instead of leaving me with my aunt. But he didn't. That's partly my anger with him, plus the fact that sometime later he returned to my mother without caring about what he did to me." Now for the update. It's been almost a month since my post, and I wanted to tell you about some things that have happened. I told my mother-in-law everything that my family did to me in the past. At first, she seemed understanding, but then my partner realized and discovered that she was still talking to my parents, and decided to cut ties with her mother. She warned her that if she continued with his attitude, would never know his grandchildren. He also told him that the only way for him to be part of our lives again is for him to apologize to me and my parents. He also told his father and brothers that if they tried to intervene between his mother, my ex-family, and us, they too would be expelled from our lives and the lives of our future children. One of the things I didn't mention was the topic of my father and my sister. It turns out that sometime after he decided he couldn't take care of me and accepted that my aunt did it, my father returned to my mother and they had a child. My sister, for her part, always believed that I lived with my father and I. For my part, always believed that my sister had a better life, but I found out everything that she had suffered. My ex-family mistreated her day and night. She was practically kidnapped and couldn't even use the phone or social networks, even though she is now of age. When we found out about this, we all decided to go for my sister. I must say that it was not the best way, but we followed her until we found her university, and there we approached her and asked her to accompany us. She was very happy to see us and accompany us. Together, we unburdened ourselves about everything. We apologized and told each other about everything. We are both victims of our parents. Now my uncles are fighting for custody of my little brother. With my sister's testimony in mind, we hope to achieve it. And we are also taking my sister to therapy to help her a little with all the trauma. Because of my wedding, we decided to bring everything forward and have a small wedding. Only my parents, my brothers, my uncles have more children. A few friends and my boyfriend's father and brother were there. We didn't tell anyone. We had no surprise visitors. Thank you for your advice and support. Story 2. Am I the a-hole for checking out of my relationship after my wife said that she wished that I had a bigger dick, but we don't always get what we want? Oh my goodness, this should be interesting. My wife, 34 female, and I, 34 male, have been married for 8 years, and we have a 5-year-old son. Over the past few months, my wife and I have occasionally been having arguments on finances. The main argument we've been having is that I want to take our family out on a vacation to a different state, but my wife wants to save so that we can travel abroad next year. Last month, my wife and I were having an argument again about this, and I was telling her a vacation would be a really good thing for our family and our son. We talked back and forth, and I could sense that my wife was getting exasperated, but I stood my ground. I told her that we could take a vacation now, and we could also go abroad next year, and my wife just lost her cool and said that the finances made that impractical, and that she also wished that I had a bigger dick, but in life, we don't always get what we want. That stung me. I'm aware that I have an average-sized dick, but I've never had any complaints from anyone on it until now, and to hear it from my wife, it just numbed me. I then checked out of the conversation, and my wife instantly apologized after she said that. I told her it was okay, and then I went to sleep. I would have told her, well, maybe you ought to go find somebody that's got a bigger penis than I've got. From the next day on, however, I distanced myself from my wife and just focused on my work and my son. My wife tried to initiate conversation and apologized multiple times, and I usually just ignored her or told her to let it go. I also started eating out as I did not want to eat my wife's dinner. My wife initiated sex one night, and I told her to get off of me. My birthday was a few days ago, and I ignored my wife when she wished me or when she tried to kiss me. We didn't do anything for my birthday. And when my wife gave me a gift, which was packaged with also a handwritten letter, I told her to return it. I have no idea what was the gift or what was written in the letter, and I really don't care. I'm at my limit now, and I know this is not healthy or sustainable, so I have seriously started considering divorce, but I also wanted to get an opinion from people I trusted most in the world, my 2 siblings. My brother thinks that I should at least consider marriage counseling first before proceeding with divorce, as he doesn't think this is worth jumping straight into divorce for. My sister has the opposite opinion, and she thinks that I'm still young and fit and I have a long life ahead of me, and it should be very easy for me to get someone who's much more beautiful than my wife, both on the exterior and the interior. Am I the a-hole for checking out of my relationship and considering divorce? No, not at all, but I think you do need to make a decision. Either open up the lines of communication with her and try to work on your marriage, or leave her and divorce her. Now for the update. Having read a few comments, I will proceed with marriage counseling like my brother recommended before jumping straight to divorce. I will try and save our marriage for my son and see if marriage counseling can fix our marriage. I opened up to my wife last night for the first time in almost a month. I told her what she said that made me feel worthless and insecure, and while she was beautiful on the outside, I never realized how ugly she was on the inside. I told her I feel trapped in this marriage and that I've completely lost feelings for her, and when I see her, I feel nothing. No love, no hate, no just indifference and wanting to be left alone. I told her that I could maybe understand her comment if we were just dating for a year or two, but to do this to someone you're married to for almost a decade, someone who was open and vulnerable with you, and then to you just use those vulnerabilities and insecurities as a weapon to hurt him, it was just horrible. I said a lot more stuff than I remember, but I was just a bit emotional. I probably didn't mean a lot of the things that I said, but I just wanted to get it off my chest. I felt a bit relieved after I finished talking, like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. When I was finished talking, my wife apologized again and said that she was hoping marriage counseling could fix her marriage too, but she started crying really bad after that, which made me feel bad, and I consoled her. It was the first time in a month that I've felt anything from my wife. She tried to kiss me, but I told her that I still needed some space, and I continued to console her as she was very emotional. Story 3. Update. My 24 female boyfriend, 25 male, told me that snacking on mozzarella cheese balls might be a deal breaker. What should I do? This is interesting. Original story. Throwaway account because my boyfriend knows my personal Reddit account. Hey Reddit, so I'm in a very weird situation and I don't know how to proceed. I'm hoping to get some insight from people who don't know us personally because this is really embarrassing for me. So to preface, I'm a cheese lover. I absolutely adore cheese and it's my favorite snack. My number one cheese has got to be mozzarella. It's a really good cheese, by the way. Specifically, ball-shaped mozzarella. The texture and flavor is so good, especially with a little salt sprinkled. I buy those packs of mozzarella balls and they have been my snack of choice since I was a freshman in college. They are easy and convenient to keep in my mini fridge for a quick, cheap, and easy bite. My boyfriend and I have been dating for 3 years now, and we recently moved in together. He's known about my love for cheese since our first date. He took me to a restaurant and we ordered like 3 charcuterie boards, LOL. I don't think he knew what he was getting into with my snacking, and he probably didn't expect me to eat mozzarella balls on the daily basis. I thought he was fine with it, but now he's making an issue out of it, and I don't know if I should stop. His specific issue is the shape of the cheese. He tells me that seeing me eat ball-shaped cheese makes him uncomfortable. He says that it is lewd and that, and I quote, seeing me pop a wet cheese ball in my mouth makes him think of me having another man's balls in my mouth. Yeah. I was really confused and I told him that I don't think that this is that big of a deal and that it's literally cheese, but he told me the imagery is still grosses him out. I thought we could work through this, but after a while he said it might be a deal breaker if I don't stop. Afterwards, he left for work. During the argument, he said he doesn't care if I eat mozzarella cheese, but he just wants me to eat it string or shredded instead. I know this is high maintenance of me, but mozzarella balls are just my favorite snack. The texture, the taste, it's just so good. I like shredded cheese and string cheese, but they just aren't the same. I'm thinking I should maybe buy the smaller balls that they sell and hope that they don't bother him. But if I feed into this, could it reinforce this mindset he has? I don't know what to do. I want to make him comfortable, but this feels really controlling and unnecessary, not to mention, I don't really want to give up on my favorite snack. He's a great guy, and I know this post isn't doing justice, but I just want to know if this is a red flag from him or if putting my foot down on this is unreasonable. Thank you in advance to anyone who reads this and offers me some advice. Now for the update. Hey guys, I hope I'm doing this update thing right. I've never made one before, so I'm just trying to copy what other people in the sub have done. I was debating posting this update or not, but seeing just how many people saw it and became invested in my snacking made me want to give anyone who is interested a little bit of closure. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for your time spent with me. It's honestly a little overwhelming to see how many people took a break from what I assume are very busy lives to give me advice and support. I think it's very beautiful how so many people in so many different places can come together and give some love to people who need it. Secondly, I have a short and savory update, get it? Because I couldn't leave you guys hanging. The morning after I posted, me and my boyfriend talked about this entire issue, and he ended up explaining why his mind immediately went to a place of sexualizing something that has no implications. I left this out of my original post because it felt unrelated, even though in hindsight it was obvious. But there was an issue with infidelity in his previous relationship. I didn't know the details of what happened and never tried to bring it up because I didn't want to upset him. That was my mistake though, because he is still struggling with insecurities and felt unsure if he could tell me about it. Both of us were lacking in communication skills, but we ended up clearing the air, and I found out both why his last relationship ended and why seeing me eat cheese balls upset him. All I knew previously was that he had a serious relationship with his ex-girlfriend, and they broke up because she cheated on him. Now, he let me know that he found out about the incident because the person she cheated with sent him a video of her, eating another man's cheese balls. He told me that he feels like by now he should have gotten over it, but the betrayal stuck with him. The next move in together has started to trigger his unresolved feelings and has given him new anxieties that our relationship might end the same way. I think pairing that with the daily visual reminder through the cheese balls was a little too much for him. I know many of you have very strong opinions about him, and I'm sorry to disappoint, but I'm not steady to let go of this relationship yet. During our conversation, I let him know that I didn't like the direction that he was going with his ultimatum because it felt very controlling, and I told him that I wouldn't tolerate another incident like this in the future. We already decided we would be looking for couples counseling in our area to help us both move on from this incident and generally learn to communicate more openly so that neither of us will bottle up our negative emotions alone, and instead, we can help each other overcome those emotions as a unit. Right now, I'm feeling very hopeful, and I think that knowing about his past will leave me better equipped to have a better future with him. Thank you all for the advice and support. I think without your perspectives, I might have just given up on my cheese, and that the two of us would continue to hide our emotions without realizing that we need to open ourselves up to more communication if we want to stay confident in both ourselves and each other. P.S. As an extra thank you to everyone who gave me recipes and new cheeses to try. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.